They told us it was the future. Electric cars, sleek, silent, saving the planet. Politicians loved them, celebrities endorsed them. We were bombarded with ads. Eco-friendly and luxurious. The message was clear: get with the program, buy an EV. But hold on a minute, something wasn't quite right. Behind the shiny marketing, cracks began to show. The reality of electric vehicles was very different from the dream, and consumers were starting to notice. The initial euphoria wore off. The excitement that once surrounded electric vehicles, or EVs, began to fade as reality set in. People realized EVs weren't all sunshine and rainbows. The promise of a cleaner, greener future was overshadowed by a series of practical challenges that many hadn't anticipated. They were expensive, for starters, much more than your average petrol car. The high upfront cost made many potential buyers think twice. Even with government incentives and subsidies, the price tags were daunting. And then there was the range anxiety. Could you even get to your destination and back without running out of juice? The fear of being stranded on the side of the road was very real for many drivers. The charging infrastructure was, to put it mildly, pathetic. Charging stations were few and far between, making long trips a logistical nightmare. Finding a charging station often felt like searching for a needle in a haystack. Long waits at charging stations became the norm. Even when you did find a station, you were likely to encounter long lines. Waiting for hours just to get a partial charge was frustrating and time-consuming. And let's not forget the batteries, expensive to replace, with a nasty habit of degrading over time. The lifespan of an electric car battery was a major concern, and the cost of replacement could be astronomical. The dream was turning into a nightmare. What was once seen as the future of transportation was now a source of stress and disappointment for many. The reality of owning an electric vehicle was far from the idealistic vision that had been sold to the public. Meanwhile, on the other side of the world, China was playing a different game. They weren't messing about with fancy marketing. They were building affordable EVs, lots of them. Companies like BYD and NIO were popping up like mushrooms after the rain. And guess what? People were buying them. Chinese consumers embraced EVs with open arms. The government threw its weight behind the industry, investing heavily in infrastructure. China was winning the electric car race, while the West was still stuck at the starting line. The success of Chinese manufacturers sent shockwaves through the Western car industry. Suddenly, the likes of Ford and Volkswagen were playing catch-up. Their electric offerings were too expensive, too late to the party. The Americans and Europeans had been outsmarted and outmaneuvered. The impact was felt most keenly in the US and Europe. Production costs for EVs remained stubbornly high, making it difficult for Western manufacturers to compete on price. And consumers, burned by the hype and wary of the challenges, were becoming increasingly skeptical. Section 5, price tag pain. Let's talk about the elephant in the room, the price. EVs are not cheap, not even close. When you walk into a dealership, the first thing that hits you is the sticker shock. The price tags on these electric vehicles can be jaw-dropping. For the price of a Tesla Model S, you could buy a small fleet of perfectly decent petrol cars. Imagine having 3 or 4 reliable petrol cars for the price of one electric vehicle. It's a tough pill to swallow for many potential buyers, and that's before you factor in the cost of insurance, which is through the roof for EVs. Insurance companies see electric vehicles as a higher risk, partly due to the expensive technology and parts. This means higher premiums, adding another layer of financial burden. Now, I understand that EVs are still a relatively new technology. They've come a long way from the early models, and the advancements are impressive. But come on, people. The price point is still a major barrier for widespread adoption. Not everyone can afford to drop 50 grand on a car, no matter how eco-friendly it is. Families on a budget are often forced to walk away, despite their interest in going green. The high upfront cost is simply too much for many to handle. Until the price comes down, EVs will remain a plaything for the wealthy. They are often seen parked in front of mansions or driven in affluent neighborhoods. This exclusivity is a significant hurdle for the mass market. The dream of widespread EV adoption hinges on making these vehicles more affordable for the average consumer. There are government incentives and tax rebates available, which can help offset some of the costs. However, these incentives vary widely by region and are often not enough to bridge the gap entirely. They are a step in the right direction, but more needs to be done. Additionally, the total cost of ownership includes installing a home charging station, which can be another significant expense. While charging at home is convenient, the initial setup cost can be a deterrent for many potential buyers. The good news is that more affordable EV models are starting to hit the market. As technology advances and economies of scale kick in, prices are expected to come down. This will hopefully make electric vehicles accessible to a broader audience. The future of transportation is electric, but for it to be truly transformative, it needs to be inclusive. Making EVs affordable for everyone is not just a financial challenge, it's a societal one. We need to ensure that the benefits of electric vehicles are available to all, not just a privileged few. Section 6, charging chaos. Range anxiety is one thing, but it's the charging infrastructure, or lack thereof, that really grinds my gears. Finding a charging station is like searching for a needle in a haystack, and when you do find one, it's probably already occupied. Then there's the time it takes to charge these things. Forget about a quick 5-minute pit stop. Be prepared to wait for hours while your battery slowly inches towards full capacity. It's enough to make you want to tear your hair out. Section 7, battery blues. The battery, the heart and soul of any electric vehicle, yet also its most significant challenge. The Achilles heel of the electric car. These things are expensive. I mean, seriously expensive. The initial cost of an electric vehicle is often higher than that of a traditional gasoline car, largely due to the battery, and they don't last forever, you know. Over time, the battery's capacity diminishes. Just like the battery in your smartphone, it starts to hold less charge as it ages. Over time, they degrade, losing their ability to hold a charge. This degradation can be influenced by various factors, including how often the battery is charged and discharged, the temperature it's exposed to, and even the way the car is driven. So, you're looking at a hefty replacement cost down the line. Replacing an electric car battery can be a significant expense, sometimes costing thousands of dollars. It's a cost that many electric vehicle owners might not anticipate when they first purchase their car. And then there's the environmental impact of battery production. Producing these batteries requires a lot of energy and resources. The factories that make them are often powered by fossil fuels, which means that the production process can generate a significant amount of greenhouse gases. It's not exactly a walk in the park. Mining the raw materials needed for these batteries, like lithium, cobalt, and nickel, is a complex and often environmentally damaging process. Mining the raw materials is energy-intensive and polluting. These mining operations can lead to deforestation, loss of biodiversity, and contamination of water sources. The human cost is also significant, with many mines located in regions with poor labor conditions, and disposing of used batteries is a whole other can of worms. Once these batteries reach the end of their life, they need to be disposed of or recycled. However, recycling processes are still in their infancy and can be costly and inefficient. So much for saving the planet, eh? While electric vehicles offer a promising alternative to traditional gasoline cars, the challenges associated with their batteries cannot be ignored. It's a complex issue that requires innovative solutions and a commitment to sustainable practices. Section 8. Skepticism runs deep. Is it any wonder that consumers are skeptical? We've been bombarded with hype only to be met with expensive, impractical vehicles and a charging infrastructure that's about as useful as a chocolate teapot. People are starting to wise up. The mainstream media might be pushing the EV agenda, but the average Joe on the street is not convinced. They see through the greenwashing and the virtue signaling. They want affordable, reliable cars that don't require a degree in rocket science to operate. Section 9. Can EVs be saved? So can EVs be saved? Can they overcome these challenges and fulfill their promise of a cleaner, greener future? Well, it's not going to be easy. The industry needs a serious reality check. The hype machine needs to be switched off. Companies need to stop focusing on fancy features and start addressing the fundamental issues of price, range, and infrastructure. They need to make EVs that people actually want to buy, not just feel obligated to buy. Section 10. Back to the drawing board. It's time to go back to the drawing board. We need to rethink the entire EV ecosystem. We need affordable EVs with longer ranges and faster charging times. We need a robust and accessible charging infrastructure, and we need to be honest about the environmental impact of battery production. Let's stop pretending that EVs are a silver bullet solution. They're not, but they could be part of a broader strategy to reduce our reliance on fossil fuels. Section 11. The road ahead. The road ahead for EVs is uncertain. There are many challenges to overcome, but there's also potential. If the industry can learn from its mistakes, address consumer concerns, and deliver on its promises, then maybe, just maybe, EVs can have a bright future. But until then, I'll be sticking to my trusty petrol-powered car. It might not be fashionable or politically correct, but at least I know it'll get me where I need to go without any fuss.